during the 2010-2011, my junior year, I was the manager of the Hardaway volleyball team. And this year, I don't particularly have anything nice to say about it whatsoever, which is why I think I had a lot of growth in myself as a person come into play during this year. I was a player. This is my shirt from my sophomore year. My name is on here as a middle back, and that's what I did. And during the summer going into my junior year, I had already been worked into the varsity rotation. So, to my great surprise, when we got our new coach, Coach Weed, she only really looked for the height in a player and if they could be a front row attack person rather than a middle back defense. So she called me and asked if I wanted to continue as just the manager because she was new at this and she knew that I knew my stuff about my sport. So I agreed because I wouldn't leave my ladies for the world, and it was really hard to undertake that new challenge because if you've ever been a player, sitting on the bench is hard enough, but I wasn't even allowed to practice, and that was really the hardest part for me, was not being able to do anything that I was so used to doing beforehand. So I had to develop a new skill set. And basically what I did for the volleyball team was I tracked Alyssa, who was the libero, and I learned how to do that. And then I would be either a line ref or I would help do the books or the clocks if that was there, or just help Coach Weed stay in rotation, because if you're not in rotation, it could possibly cost you the game. So that was definitely a new skill set that I got to learn. And I got to work collaboratively with one of the other managers who already knew how to do the books and stuff like that, and I was forced to work collaboratively with Coach Weed, and which I did. And going against her wishes, she was mainly focused on her varsity team, so during practices, when I was only allowed to sit there, I would go out and I would help the JV with some of their technical skills, like how to sit properly and your platform being up here and not down here. And so that really increased my awareness and my own strengths as a volleyball player that, I am at heart. And it was definitely a way of me getting in some play time with my sport. So even though I had to do it in not the way that I wanted to, I still kind of worked around it and did it. But I ended up just flat out quitting my junior year of managing because I could not take it any longer. And I tried to push through and persevere, but the ethical conflict between myself and Coach Weed there just became one giant gap. And I mean, I took as much as any normal student would be asked to. And it really just boiled down to, we were at a tournament, and I made a call, and because I get to sit up at the bench, and I had already talked to the up ref, which is the head man, who, if he makes a call, no one else can defeat it, trump it, whatever. He knows his books. I know my rules and my books. And I went and I asked him, I was like, because we had a team that was later on in, it was like the match right before facing off for second and third place. And so it was a pretty crucial match. And they didn't have a libero tracker. And the rules state that you have to have someone there to track that libero. Now, whether or not they choose to track both teams' libero is up to them. And if they're the home school, then they don't have to. The home school is really the one that does have to, which I didn't mind. I'm used to tracking two liberos at the same time. But I went ahead and asked the up ref, and he confirmed with me that that's how it was supposed to go. And I went and double checked with Alyssa, who knows everything about that book as well, and she was like, yeah, there has to be someone there to track with you. And otherwise it's an out of rotation call, and if that team hadn't had a tracker the whole time, they were null and void, invalid. They weren't they would have had to forfeit, and we would have been able to rest a match before we would have went for first, second, or third place. And so I consulted Coach Weed, and I told her, I was like, the other coach doesn't have a libero tracker, so would you please, go and ask? And she was attending to other business at the time, so I had to take it into my own hands to ask her, or the young man that was keeping books for that team at the time. I asked him, I was like, do you have a libero tracker? And he was like, no, you're gonna do it. And I was like, no, I'm my team's libero tracker. Your team needs to have one. Well, this coach for this other team came rearing a very not so nice head at me, and basically told me if I was too lazy to do it, it would be okay. She'd just tell my coach to replace me. And that's simply not how it went. So I called the up ref, and the up ref had to come and defend me about it. So she finally did get some older woman to come in and track the libero, and I was basically being screamed at every time that I made any type of call against their team, because when you are a libero, there's a specific guideline that a libero has to do. If they have to come out for the same people, they have to come out at the same spot. Like, there's the attack line, and the libero is not allowed to cross in front of the attack line, because that is considered a substitution, which you only get a couple of in each game. So if they're not going in and out for the same people, or if they're not coming in and out correctly or at the same spots, it's considered an out of rotation call, which gives our team a point, because they should know better. And so it was, it was a crucial thing for me to call. So I finally got fed up with myself telling Coach Weed, this is what's happening. And so I just stood up and signaled the up ref. I was like, out of rotation. And the other coach came over and ripped me down totally. And I went out and showed her. I was like, no, this is a substitution, and back here is a libero call, and your libero can't do whatever she pleases. That's not how the game works. And I didn't get any backing up whatsoever. And then after the match was over with, I was approached by Coach Weed and was told never to do that again, and I should go and apologize. And I kind of looked at her, and I was like, you want me to apologize for doing my job that you have me on this team to do. So it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. I wasn't allowed to do any type of playing whatsoever, or helping my skills for maybe if I wanted to try out my senior year. And apparently I wasn't allowed to do my own job anymore. So I did go and apologize just to appease the other woman, the other coach. But after that, I just didn't go to any more games at all. I didn't go to any more practices, and it probably wasn't the best idea on my part to do, but I stick by it because that is my ethics. And if you're not going to back me up, I can't work with you. I'm sorry. So that's basically how my junior year of managing volleyball went. It was a very ethical new growth in my life.